Evan started arguing with my roommate and his parents just as I arrived. I stomped the snow off my shoes, about to push the door open. I told you, I never acknowledge such ridiculous child marriages. The boy's cold sneer stopped me from opening the door. That was an engagement arranged by both families when you were very young. Now that you brought this girl here, are you trying to embarrass your Uncle Daniel and Aunt Elaine? I peered through the gap and saw Evan arguing with his father. My parents sat silently nearby, looking quite upset. This is my girlfriend. Evan grabbed my roommate Caleb's hand, asserting his claim. Evan's father's face turned red with anger. You can only marry Ivy, you have no choice. My hand trembled, and I accidentally pushed the door open. Everyone's eyes turned to me. Evan looked coldly, pointing at me as he looked at his parents. His words were firm. I never liked her at all, marrying her would only disgust me. After speaking, he didn't wait for a response and took Caleb away. His gaze swept over me. Behind me were Uncle Richard and Aunt Catherine's hurried apologies, and my father's anger as if he wanted to catch up with Evan and give him a beating. I just stared at the backs of the two who had left. Over the years, he never denied this childhood sweetheart marriage to anyone. Even when people joked about it, he would laugh along. I thought he liked me just as much as I liked him. That night, after my parents comforted me in turns for 2 hours, I was finally able to go to sleep. My mom helped me take a leave, and I didn't return to the dormitory. Just as I was about to fall asleep, the phone on the bedside table lit up. It was a message from Evan. I'm downstairs at your place, come down, let's talk. I remembered what he said today. My childhood friend maliciously seriously injured me because he wanted to be with another girl. That night, I ultimately didn't go down. But I also didn't sleep very well. I had a fragmented dream. Young Evan sat at the desk, carefully writing something stroke by stroke. After a while, he finished writing and jumped off the chair. He ran to the young me. Ivy, don't cry, you will marry me in the future. His soft little hand shoved the self-made marriage certificate into my hand, his eyes bright and sincere. I will protect Ivy from now on. The moon pushed away the last trace of clouds, and the light that came through flickered in my eyes. Half asleep and half awake, I wiped away the moisture at the corner of my eyes. The next morning on the way to school, I was stopped by Evan again. Leaving at this time, did you skip breakfast again? His familiar tone made me pause. Evan handed me a bag of prepared breakfast. Ivy, what I said yesterday wasn't meant to target you. I was just upset for a moment and said those things. I stepped back to avoid the bag of breakfast. No need, eating your breakfast only makes me feel sick. Evan withdrew his hand and looked at me steadily. His voice deepened. Have you calmed down after scolding? Ivy, I hope you won't cause trouble for Caleb. She did nothing wrong, I was the one who liked her first. I have to say, Evan's words were quite insightful. But it was Caleb who provoked first. Evan and I arrived at school one after another. Just as I entered the classroom and sat down at my seat, Caleb came over holding a cup of milk. The voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough to cover the sparse reading sounds in the class. For a moment, everyone's eyes turned this way. Ivy, please have some milk. Can you forgive me? I glanced at the milk, then looked at her. What did you do wrong that you want me to forgive? Caleb placed the milk on my desk, his eyes slightly red. I shouldn't have accepted Evan's WeChat friend request. At that time, I didn't know he was your childhood friend. Her voice choked up slightly as she tugged at my sleeve. Ivy, please don't be mad at me, okay? As long as you're not mad, I can give Evan back to you. Just as I was about to speak, another voice interrupted. It was Caleb's good friend. She laughed angrily and raised her voice to defend Caleb. Caleb, why are you apologizing? Ivy and Evan are just friends, right? You didn't steal her boyfriend, so what are you apologizing for? Also, Ivy, can you stop with that princess attitude? Don't act so indifferent. This joint effort pushed the scene to a climax. You two, is this what they call one playing the red face and the other playing the black face? After saying that, I pulled Caleb's hand away. I didn't use much force, but she fell to the side with a gasp. She knocked over my table, and the hot milk spilled on her. Evan came in at that moment. Caleb, are you hurt? He took off his coat and covered Caleb with it, his eyes full of concern. I'm fine, Evan. The onlookers around cast reproachful glances at me. "Why are you looking at me?" She ran into me herself. I found it a bit funny. Evan did hear, but all his attention was on Caleb. "I'll carry you to the infirmary first to get treated, hang in there." He carried Caleb in a horizontal hold, not looking away as he left. From start to finish, he treated me like air. In the afternoon, Caleb's good friend was very angry and helped Caleb get revenge. I came out after filling the hot water and just ran into her head-on. She deliberately bumped into me, splashing the water from the cup onto me. Then she pushed me down in one smooth motion. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." She shrugged and walked away indifferently. I looked up and just met Evan's gaze not far away. He was looking down at me from above. His expression was so cold it was like he was looking at a stranger. Just a second before the class bell rang, I dragged my wet body into the classroom. I was holding a bottle containing warm, pale yellow liquid. Before anyone could react, I opened the cap. The liquid poured over the girl's head, soaking her thoroughly. "I did it on purpose, and I don't intend to apologize." She screamed and stood up. "What is this? What did you pour on me?" I tugged at the corner of my mouth, saying nothing. It wasn't until the matter escalated that I clarified things with the head teacher. It was just a bottle of hot water, with 2 tea leaves added. After this incident, I was isolated by the entire class. Everyone avoided me. I even began to doubt myself. Was I really in the wrong? If I was right, then why was I the one being ostracized? Meanwhile, Evan and Caleb had already gained a reputation in class as the power couple of top students. The day they went public with their relationship was also the day I confessed to Evan. "Friday night, class reunion, are you coming?" Lily hesitated for a long time, and after asking everyone, she still tentatively asked me. I appeared calm and indifferent, but the hand hidden under the table couldn't help but clench tightly. "I'll come." I thought maybe I wasn't that rejected by others. In the club, everyone sat together playing Truth or Dare. It was Evan's turn. Someone laughed and asked, "Evan, if your Ivy and your rumored girlfriend Caleb both fell into the water at the same time, who would you save?" At that time, I didn't think about it either. It turned out to be a prophecy. Evan was sitting right across from me. The air froze for a moment. I stared at the juice in front of me without blinking. I knew I could find an excuse to leave the private room. But some mysterious force kept me from moving. The guy opposite suddenly let out a light laugh. His tone was calm and steady. "What do you mean by rumored girlfriend?" "This is my girlfriend, didn't I tell you?" With a sidelong glance, he put his arm around Caleb's shoulder and asked, "Caleb, can you swim?" "I'm a landlubber." The girl felt a bit embarrassed. Evan sighed softly, his words full of affection. "So if you fall into the sea, don't I have to hold you and swim all the way?" He didn't answer the question directly, but the answer was already obvious. "That makes sense. Caleb is his girlfriend. There's nothing wrong with saving your girlfriend first." I gently closed my eyes, hiding the bitterness in them. Everyone was teasing Evan, the top student, about what dating is really like. I even breathed lightly, lowering my presence even more, afraid of being looked at with pity and ridicule. But Caleb didn't seem willing to let me off so easily. When it was my turn, she smiled innocently and asked gently, "Ivy, is there anyone you like at the scene?" "It's okay if you've liked someone before." She said the cruelest words in a playful tone. Let everyone think she was just joking. "If you lie, your whole family will die." I feel like I've been driven into a dead end. If I stand up and make a scene now, I'll probably be permanently isolated. My classmates will look at me with strange eyes again. I slightly raised my eyes and met Caleb's gaze. Yes. As soon as I finished speaking, I felt Evan looking at me. Caleb smiled and linked arms with Evan. In the past, something like this would have made me feel unbearably embarrassed with nowhere to hide. But it seems that after admitting I once liked Evan, that feeling has drifted far away from me. It's like a faint breeze stirring the last trace of indescribable feelings I had for Evan. After the wind passes, the water's surface is without a trace. When I was 17, I let go of a 3-year secret crush. I finally realized that I didn't like Evan anymore. After the party ended, Evan called me back before I left. He approached with a complicated expression. "Ivy. Today you said the person you like is me?" To be honest, I no longer feel any affection for the boy in front of me. Yes. I added, but it was liking you in the past. The moment you pointed at me and said marrying me would be disgusting, I decided I didn't like you anymore. Besides, you have a girlfriend now, I've truly let go. Evan pressed his lips tightly, saying nothing. I never meant to hurt you on purpose. I've always treated you like a sister. Ivy, I will make it up to you. I no longer want to listen to his pale words. Although I immediately refused, I showed with my actions, I really want to stay away from you and your girlfriend. But Evan simply wouldn't listen and did many useless things to fill his guilt. He insisted on bringing me breakfast, even though I threw it back at him every time. Caleb couldn't see how I avoided his occasional thoughtful care and just thought I was trying to take Evan away. She started throwing tantrums one after another. The day before the mock exam results came out, Caleb was called to the office alone. When she came back, she was crying with her head on the desk. Rumors started circulating in the class that she cheated on this exam. Neither Evan nor her friends believed it. The vast majority did not think Caleb cheated. After all, she was the second in the grade, right behind Evan. How could Caleb? That cheating note they caught must not be hers. Exactly, Caleb is not that kind of person. I didn't pay much attention. But I remember I did well this time, and after checking the answers, I found I made far fewer mistakes than before. After the results came out, I hadn't been happy for long before Evan blocked my way after school. Ivy. Was it you? I was confused. What? Framing Caleb for cheating, wasn't it you? That little note, wasn't it you who put it there? He asked coldly, pressing step by step. I sneered, do you really think I care about her, looking for trouble for no reason? Evan glanced at me. Then why did you score 27 points higher this time than last time? I couldn't stand it anymore. Can't I just have taken the test myself? Evan, don't be so paranoid. His expression was dark and unclear. Suddenly, he sneered. Ivy, how did you end up like this? Framing others, showing no remorse. Evan shook his head, full of disappointment. Is this how your parents taught you? I was so angry I almost retorted. Evan then turned on his phone and showed me a piece of surveillance footage. After the exam papers were collected and before school ended at noon, I was the only one who entered the office. This was Caleb's plan. The cheating note was deliberately slipped into the exam paper by her. She knew those questions, so no one believed she was cheating. Combined with this footage, I was directly convicted. Evan looked down at me from above. He said a sentence indifferently and then left. Ivy, everyone must be responsible for their own actions. I placed my last hope on the head teacher. After all, this matter couldn't rely on solid evidence, but on everyone's subjective judgment. However, the head teacher just looked at me reproachfully. Ivy, what is your purpose in doing this? Could it be that you are jealous that Caleb's grades are better than yours? My throat suddenly went dry, and all my strength was drained. I couldn't say a word. When Evan accompanied Caleb into the office, she was still tearful. Ivy, aren't we close roommates? I've always considered you a good friend, and is this how you treat me? She picked up a heavy book from the desk and smashed it directly onto my face, crying out at the same time. My life almost got stained because of you, do you know that? Evan just looked away silently. The head teacher casually blamed Caleb for not keeping his hands to himself. Before I could retaliate, she gave me a warning look. Changing the subject, she said, Ivy, apologize, and the teacher won't cancel your grades. If my grades were cancelled, I would be transferred out of the advanced class in senior year. But I didn't do it, so how could I admit it? I'll say it once, I did not falsely accuse Caleb of cheating. As soon as I finished speaking, I felt a chill in my nose. Caleb was strong and had caused my nose to bleed. I ignored the three people with varying expressions and walked away directly. Stop. Evan chased after me and blocked my way. He frowned when he saw my nosebleed. But what he said was reproachful. Ivy, you have to apologize to Caleb. She shouldn't bear this blame because of you. I lightly wiped my nosebleed and opened my hand to show him. In a very soft voice, I said, Evan, can I go wash up first? I felt extremely tired. Like a person hanging on the edge of a cliff, no longer having the strength to hold on to the lifeline branch. I didn't even want to argue with him anymore. Evan frowned tightly, I'll take you. Saying that, he reached out to pull me. I took a slight step back, lowering my eyes without any emotion. Evan. Please stay away. In the end, I still didn't apologize to Caleb. But it seemed everyone assumed that I was the one framing Caleb. Classmates who used to ignore me started making indirect criticisms about me. That test paper of mine, which scored 27 points higher than usual, was also declared invalid. My seemingly stable emotions were beginning to crumble. That time was the school's spring outing. No one was allowed to be absent without a valid reason. So it became another opportunity for Caleb to frame me. Caleb and Ivy, pair up and go pick up branches. After entering the dense forest, Caleb's true nature was revealed. I quietly pressed the voice recorder inside my bag. Ivy, are you upset that I stole your childhood sweetheart? She stood behind me, leisurely. I guided her words. So you deliberately planted that cheating note on me just to make Evan completely disgusted with me, preventing me from taking him back? She glanced around a few times before curling her lips into a smile and saying, yeah, no one believes you're innocent. How was it? That book hitting your face must have hurt, right? I got the information I wanted and had no intention of lingering. With this recording, she could be completely ruined. But she wasn't satisfied. The moment I turned around, she pushed me. I rolled down the hillside, and Caleb, caught up in his own excitement, twisted his ankle and tumbled down as well. We ended up hanging from tree branches on the slope at the same time. It was precarious. I tried to save myself, but it was useless. Evan probably heard Caleb's cries for help and was the first to arrive. Evan, I'm so scared. She looked at Evan pitifully. The boy's gaze towards me was full of sympathy. Sorry, Ivy. He reached out his hand to Caleb. Once Caleb comes up, I'll pull you up immediately. Caleb paused upon hearing this. She climbed up following Evan's strength. I pressed my lips together. Okay, thank you. I have nothing to complain about. Caleb is his girlfriend, so it's understandable that he saved her first. He even was willing to help me, which was beyond my expectations. I thought he wouldn't take that risk and would just go back to find the head teacher for me. But on the way up, Caleb stepped on my hand, pressing it back and forth. His other foot was lifted, using leverage, pretending unintentionally to step on me. I was in pain and instinctively let go. I rolled down the hillside. Ivy, Ivy, the voices of Evan and Caleb rang in my ears. Even at this moment, she still didn't forget to put on a full performance. Fortunately, the fallen leaves beneath me were thick enough, and the slope was relatively gentle. I finally stopped when my back hit a tree trunk. My body was covered with various scratches and bruises. The only serious injury was where my back hit the tree trunk. After slowly leaning on the tree to stand up, I realized the biggest problem: I was lost. My phone had no signal. Meanwhile, on the other side, Caleb was doing everything he could to prevent anyone from rescuing me. I eventually relied on the compass on my phone and stumbled my way out of the forest. But when I returned to the meeting point, I found that everyone had already left. I stopped the action of calling the head teacher. After a cold laugh, I called my parents. The injury wasn't serious, but I still needed to be observed in the hospital for a day. Evan came into the ward after my parents returned home in the evening. Ivy. His voice was a bit hoarse. At that moment, I was staring blankly at the dark sky outside the window. From the corner of my eye, a boy approached. I slowly spoke. During the day today, when I was trying to find a way out in the woods, I suddenly remembered when we went on a field trip to the forest park in the second year of middle school. He paused, and I looked at him. Do you still remember? He looked dazed, clearly not remembering. I showed no reaction and continued talking to him. Like a bystander, narrating someone else's feelings. Calm and detached. That time I was bitten by a snake. You knew the snake was not venomous, yet you immediately carried me to the hospital. It was especially hot then, and you were sweating all over but never put me down. Because you knew I was afraid of pain. When I was lying on your back, I just thought. I sighed softly. I really like you, Evan. How can a person change so quickly? Why did my childhood friend, who once cared for me meticulously and always put me first, now point at me and say I'm disgusting? Why would he allow others to hit me? Even when my life was hanging by a thread, he chose to stand by and do nothing. Evan's eyes were full of remorse. He couldn't argue. He just kept apologizing. I was wrong, Ivy, I was really wrong. Please forgive me, okay? I won't leave you alone anymore. I took a deep breath. Looking at the boy in front of me, I raised my hand and slapped him. Evan, how dare you ask me to forgive you? I stared at him. You saved Caleb first, she is your girlfriend, I have no right to blame you. But you knew very well that it was dangerous for me to fall. Even if we hadn't known each other for more than 10 years and were just ordinary classmates, couldn't you have told the head teacher or called the police? You're as cold-blooded as a beast. What if I hadn't come out of the dense forest? I might not even have had the chance to hear his nonsense. Evan seemed shattered and couldn't stand. He squatted by my bed, pretending to hold my hand. His voice trembled, and his dark eyes were full of pain. I'm sorry, Ivy, I forgot, I really forgot. Caleb's situation was too urgent at the time. I tugged at the dry corners of my mouth and looked away. How urgent could it be for someone who didn't fall? Get lost. Evan didn't move, just looked at me pleadingly. My gaze then fell on the glass cup beside me. Caleb pushed open the hospital room door. But she looked like she was even more seriously injured than I was after falling down the slope. Sitting in a wheelchair, looking sickly. Ivy, don't blame Evan, she said, her eyes slightly red, on the verge of tears. Because I twisted my ankle at the time, I was so scared of the pain that I had no choice but to beg Evan to take me to the hospital first. This is her urgent situation. I'm sorry. I thought my boyfriend would always put me first no matter where or when, but I forgot Evan is different. He still has you, his childhood friend. I was too selfish. As she spoke, she choked back tears and tried to stand up. Just before she fell, Evan ran over and caught her. Then he carried her back to the wheelchair. The moment he turned to look at me, my emotions suddenly broke loose. I broke down and threw whatever was at hand at the two of them. Evan stood in front of Caleb. Blood seeped from his temple where it was hit. I stared at the two of them, saying word by word, get lost, even one more second of looking at you makes me incredibly disgusted. Caleb really cared about him. He tugged Evan's sleeve and was about to leave. Evan silently looked at me for a long time. Before the two of them opened the door and left, I suddenly spoke. Caleb. Before you fell down the hillside, you once gave me a gift. I deeply stared at her back, my hands unconsciously gripping the bedsheet tightly, trembling. I will definitely make good use of it. She only paused for a second before leaving as if nothing had happened. In Caleb's eyes, everything she did was flawless. Coupled with her repeated unscathed victories, it was inevitable that she became somewhat complacent. So, she didn't take my words seriously. She even sent a pre-recorded video to provoke me right after leaving. It must have been secretly filmed by a camera she set up in advance. Caleb had only sprained his ankle. But Evan, worried that she might have other injuries, insisted on hospital observation for a day. In the footage, Caleb was holding Evan's waist, speaking softly, "Do you blame me for not getting you to save Ivy in time?" Evan stroked her head and sighed lightly. No. Caleb held her tighter. Because you are my boyfriend, I was scared, so I could only turn to you. I thought I was the most important person to you. A blurry video. Evan's voice sounded clearly in the hospital room. Caleb, you have always been the most important person to me. As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed her chin and leaned down to kiss her. This video was immediately followed by a message. This is why Evan didn't go down the hill to find you. My eyes slightly lost focus as I turned off my phone. Lost in thought, I wondered, what was I doing when they were kissing? I was anxiously trying to avoid being bitten by snakes, enduring the pain in my body. Bit by bit, I relied on myself to walk out of the dense forest. The evening wind that day was colder than usual. Although I already have a recording that proves Caleb was the instigator of the cheating on the exam, the tricky part is that I was also pushed down the hill by Caleb. But there is no evidence to prove it. In my opinion, a single recording is just a minor blow to her. Just as I was hesitating whether to hand over only the recording, my classmate Vivian came to me. After returning to school, during free time, she approached me when no one else was paying attention. Ivy, I saw everything. She said, that day I wanted to go pee somewhere no one was around, and I happened to see Caleb push you. Also, she lied to the head teacher, so no one came to save you. I saw that I didn't say anything. Her face was a little flushed, and she slowly explained, I didn't dare to say it immediately at the time, fearing that if you died there would be no evidence. I was afraid Caleb would target me. It's human nature. After all, the fact that she dared to push me down shows how little she values human life. I calmly continued to probe her. Even if you saw it, it's useless, eyewitness testimony can't convict her. Vivian looked around, hesitating to speak. I quietly waited as well. She pressed her lips tightly, somewhat afraid. Ivy, your family is wealthy. If I give you the evidence, can you really put her in jail? Because if she can't really be locked up, I'm afraid she'll retaliate against me. I nodded and smiled. Do you know? Caleb is already 18. This means that even the law can no longer treat her leniently. Vivian finally felt relieved. She took out her phone to show me the video. From her perspective, you can clearly see Caleb deliberately pushing his hand towards me. As for Caleb lying to the head teacher, there are even more witnesses. According to Vivian, after Caleb and the others went back, she sent Evan away to help find a car to take her to the hospital. When everyone was about to look for me again, she stopped them. Teacher, Ivy told me she wasn't feeling well and left early. I even saw her family's car come to pick her up. The homeroom teacher was skeptical. Then I also need to call her parents to confirm. Caleb visibly grew nervous. Why is there no signal? The homeroom teacher frowned and glanced at her phone. Caleb didn't give her a second chance to call. Teacher, don't you believe me? Isn't it normal for Ivy to leave early? After all, her family is so rich, it's quite normal that she can't adapt to this kind of place for a field trip, right? When Caleb slandered me that time, I vaguely sensed the head teacher's inexplicable bias against me. And her fondness for Caleb. I used to think she liked Caleb because of his good grades. Now it seems that's not entirely the case. She probably has a resentment towards the wealthy. Caleb was exactly exploiting this mindset, subtly bringing up my family background to stir her dissatisfaction with me. Caleb then changed the subject by feigning pain. Teacher, I twisted my ankle, and it's quite swollen. Could you please notify my parents first? Her whole approach was smooth and seamless, causing me to completely lose the chance of being rescued. Caleb was completely finished. But suddenly, I didn't want her to be finished right away. During Tuesday's break, when no one was paying attention, I ran to the broadcasting room. Facing the microphone, I pressed the recorder. How is it? That book hitting your face must have hurt, right? Caleb's voice clearly reached everyone's ears. Unfortunately, I couldn't see her expression at that moment. Although I was scolded by the head teacher because of this, Caleb was directly disgraced. No way, Caleb really planted the cheat sheet herself. Oh my God, she has always been like a goddess in my heart, how can she be so disgusting? The classmates' discussions were completely unreserved. I watched Caleb's face grow paler and paler. Evan also looked unwell. On my way to get hot water, he stopped me. His eyes were full of panic and apology. Ivy. I misunderstood you. I twisted the couplet as I spoke. Say everything you want to say all at once. After a long pause, he finally spoke. Can you forgive me, Ivy? His tone was cautious. Without hesitation, I splashed the water onto his face. Although it wasn't very hot, it was enough to make him embarrassed. Evan, I just want to ask you, if it were you, do you think you could forgive? Evan stood still, water droplets falling from the tips of his hair. He lowered his eyes and gave a faint, bitter smile. Do you really hate me that much? To the point where you don't even want our more than 10 years of friendship anymore. The early spring wind was still piercingly cold. Especially for Evan, whose school uniform was soaked through. His shoulders shivered from the cold, yet he persistently waited for my answer. Evan. You have no right to mention those more than 10 years to me. The moment I finished speaking, the hopeful light in the boy's eyes instantly dimmed. As he turned to leave, a soft question sounded from behind. Can you really not forgive me? How can I forgive? How can I forgive someone who made me completely let go of over 10 years of childhood sweetheart feelings in just 2 short months? Just when Caleb thought that was all, I sent her another message, leading her to the equipment room. It was a screenshot of a segment from a video Vivian sent me. What more do you want? Caleb gritted her teeth, her face dark. It seemed she hadn't been doing well these past few days. I was holding a dictionary about 6 centimeters thick. I weighed it in my hand. You slap yourself, I say stop when it's over. Or should I slap you? You choose one. Caleb was afraid I would hold a grudge and seek crazy revenge. Suppressing my anger, I began slapping myself. The red marks on the girl's face deepened, swollen unevenly. Suddenly, footsteps came from outside the equipment room. I felt a bit panicked. Two girls were alone together. One of them had a face full of redness and swelling. Given Caleb's personality, I was sure to be labeled a school bully. While I was still stunned, the footsteps grew closer. I looked toward the door with a gap. Just as I was standing there nervously, the door was closed. That meant the person outside had closed the door for me. A kind gesture. After Caleb slapped her own nose until it bled, I stopped her. She slightly moved her lips. Please, don't hand the video over to the police. I still want to take the college entrance exam. I chuckled lightly, laughing at her absurdity. I pushed the door open and left straight away. A faint voice suddenly sounded by the door, startling me. The Good Samaritan who helped me close the door was Vivian, who happened to be passing by. Finished hitting? I'll watch for you, no one saw you hit her. I didn't hit him. From the beginning, I planned not to get involved physically. Caleb slapped himself, I bear no responsibility at all. I nodded to her and was about to leave. She looked hesitant. A few seconds later, she shoved the milk tea in her hand into mine. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the truth before and followed everyone else in isolating you. She spoke quickly, in one long breath. If you have any problems with your studies, you can come to me. If you need help in other areas, you can also ask. Goodbye. After saying that, she ran off without looking back. I stared blankly at the warm milk tea in my hand. This was the first act of kindness I had received since I was isolated. That afternoon after school, I took the video and went to the police station. I stood at the school gate, watching Caleb being taken away by the police. She cried out, "Please, don't take me away, my college entrance exam is coming up soon. I'm begging you, at least let me finish the exam, okay?" The police car slowly shrank in my sight until it finally disappeared. Inappropriately, I recalled that Caleb had once, even surpassing Evan, become the top student in the class. I remember her then, with eyes full of starlight. The homeroom teacher was also not spared. Her irresponsibility, her strong prejudice against students, and her indiscriminate behavior would ultimately come at a price. Before being dismissed, she came to see me, hoping I could provide a letter of forgiveness. I couldn't help but feel disgusted. Why? Letting someone like you continue to be a teacher is irresponsible to any school and its students. People like you should be like ants, forever trampled under the feet of those you hate the most, bowing and scraping as you deserve. The class changed its head teacher. Only then did everyone gradually realize they had misunderstood me. They started talking to me, asking if I wanted to eat together. But I actually began to feel uncomfortable. It's not about being pretentious. I had already gotten used to being alone. I persuaded myself that being alone has many advantages. But just as I gradually accepted being alone, I had to adapt to another kind of liveliness. Inevitably, exclusivity appeared. So, when Lily asked me again if I wanted to join the class dinner, I thought about it and still shook my head to refuse. But not all group activities can be refused. For example, the art committee member took the initiative to sign the whole class up for a choir performance. At that time, I didn't expect it either. I, who had been excluded and isolated 2 months ago, would suddenly become popular now. On the day of the art festival, after changing clothes, I hesitated for a long time before coming out of the bathroom. The clothing size seemed off. The top was a bit too short, with a slight lift of my hand, my waist was exposed. Evan has been intermittently cooperating with the police investigation recently and has been coming to school very infrequently. I stopped walking and frowned. What are you going to do again? Although Evan didn't commit any substantial mistakes, he was still given a reprimand because he was involved in everything. Evan didn't care about my rejection, his eyes just darkened. I broke up with Caleb. Before, I didn't know she had done so many wrong things. I was about to speak when he cut me off. I know you hate me. He self-mockingly tugged at the corner of his mouth. I only came today to explain to you that I really didn't know about what she did before. Whether you believe it or not, Ivy, all along, if it weren't for Caleb's instigation, I never had any ill will towards you. He leaned against the wall, shaking his head with a bitter smile. We would never be like this. I rubbed my forehead tiredly. Evan, you're really terrible right now. Shifting all the blame onto Caleb, can you really be at ease? Was someone forcing you to be with her? Evan looked up and met my eyes. Helpless emotions filled his entire being. Then what should I do, Ivy? I really don't know how to make you less repulsed by me. His eyes suddenly darkened, his expression unclear. I don't even know what's wrong with me. Ivy, I think I might have feelings for you. I really couldn't listen to the rest of what he was saying. I didn't want to know what he was thinking either. I walked around him and headed straight to the backstage makeup room. Before going on stage, I inadvertently raised my hand and slightly revealed a bit of my waist, and someone took a photo of that moment. Then someone posted it on the confession wall. This girl is my type, can I get a contact? Wow, that waist is really beautiful, I want to get a contact too. I've seen her, she should be from the class performing on stage. When I returned backstage and was stopped by someone, I finally understood what was going on. Classmate, can I get your contact? A boy with slightly red ears was pushed in front of me by a few other boys, looking shy. I was a bit confused and was about to refuse when Evan walked through the crowd and came up to me. Ivy, congratulations on your successful performance. He smiled at the corner of his lips and stuffed a handful of flowers into my arms. Whispering voices nearby. Who is he? I don't know, but from the look of it, he seems to be Ivy's boyfriend. The voices weren't too quiet, at least Evan and I could hear them clearly. Hello, is this your girlfriend? The man pointed at me and asked Evan. He didn't deny it, just raised an eyebrow. So don't ask for her WeChat. I found it funny. I stepped forward and threw the flowers back into Evan's arms. I have nothing to do with him. After saying this, I left without paying attention to Evan's darkening expression. But he seemed to start haunting me. After school at night, he followed me all the way. Ivy, we were engaged when we were kids. I didn't deny it today because I didn't want them to spread your WeChat. I looked at him for 2 seconds, then suddenly realized that he had never been aware that he was wrong. Evan, do you remember the marriage letter you wrote to me when you were a child? I turned my head slightly, my gaze fixed somewhere. My voice was flat, without any fluctuation. Only under the influence of the sudden drop in temperature did my tone sound a bit cold. I was too young then, and although I didn't understand the meaning of marriage, I knew that it meant we could be together forever, and that made me feel at ease. I looked again at the boy in front of me, his eyes red. Because he said he would always protect me. But you went back on your word and did nothing. Evan broke down, crouching at my feet. He held the back of my hand tightly. Don't say any more, Ivy, I've made so many mistakes. I slowly withdrew my hand and looked down at him from above. Yes, you were wrong. The harm you caused me is indelible. Evan, I will never forgive you in my lifetime. So please, stop bothering me. That day, he ultimately did not agree. He only said as he left that he seemed to have liked the wrong person. When I got home, I suddenly remembered that the marriage certificate hadn't been thrown away yet. After rummaging through the drawers and cabinets to find it, I didn't look at it again and tore it up before throwing it into the trash bin downstairs. In the following period, Evan really didn't bother me anymore. But since we were in the same class, whenever I looked back, I could always find him staring at me absent-mindedly. I looked at the countdown to the college entrance exam on the blackboard. I suppressed this feeling of frustration, not wanting to provoke him anymore. But Evan still completely tore off his disguise one day. That also became the last time I saw him before the college entrance exam. Although I didn't give that boy my WeChat that day, he would still occasionally come to my class during a break to bring me snacks. I had no choice but to send him back, which caused me to miss the entire break. Later, my frequent avoidance probably really made him anxious. One day after school, he confessed to me publicly right at the school gate. His determined expression, combined with the confession scene, had a somewhat coercive undertone. Sorry. I don't, she doesn't like you. Are you not done yet? Evan wouldn't have missed this big scene. Today, there was a thin layer of hostility on his face. The boy turned around and looked at him inexplicably. What does she have to do with you? Evan sneered, walked over, and punched him, making him stagger a few steps. Of course she has something to do with me. Saying that, the two started fighting. The pressure of the upcoming college entrance exam, combined with Evan's occasional harassment. It simply suffocates me to the point where I can't breathe. Before things got out of hand, the two stopped, and it didn't escalate to the police station. But my frustration had already reached its peak. On the empty, deserted street, Evan stood in front of me with his head down as if he had done something wrong. "I didn't mean to bother you, Ivy. I know you don't like him, I just wanted to help you get rid of him." My voice unconsciously rose a bit. "Evan, please stop doing these meaningless things. Right now, you're only making me troubled, do you understand? You weren't there when I was bullied before, and now there's even less reason for it." He was silent for a long time, and when he spoke again, it was still the pale apology. He took out a crumpled piece of paper from his bag. "After you threw it away, I picked it up and pieced it back together bit by bit." The marriage certificate was wrapped around and around with tape. His voice was somewhat choked, and his hand trembled slightly. "You clearly promised that when we grew up, you would only marry me." I don't quite remember that day clearly anymore. I only remember being so angry at Evan's stubborn refusal to listen. It seemed like I had scolded him for a long time and slapped him several times. In the end, I crouched by the roadside crying, begging him not to bother me anymore. The marriage certificate he had worked hard to prepare was once again torn to pieces by me. And Evan really never appeared in front of me again. His parents helped him take a leave the next day, saying he would study at home for the remaining month or so. Although I was somewhat surprised, I mostly felt relieved. It wasn't until after the college entrance exam that I heard about Evan from my parents. That night, on his way home, he had a car accident due to being distracted. Originally, if he had cooperated actively with the treatment, it was possible for him to leave the hospital in time for the exam. But he was so passive that he even refused to take medicine. His mother even called my mom before the exam, hoping I could go and persuade him. After hearing this, my dad snatched the phone away. "The college entrance exam is his own business, he can take it however he wants. Don't drag my daughter into this." Obviously, my father was still resentful about the public cancellation of the engagement. I was admitted to a key university because of my outstanding performance. On the day I received the admission notice, I got a message from an unknown number. "Congratulations on your success in the exam." Such a typical official phrase, and I immediately guessed it was Evan. I felt nothing and promptly blocked the number. Breathing in the scorching hot air. Yet my heart is exceptionally calm. In my mind, like a movie replay, the ups and downs of the past 6 months play frame by frame. It finally ended when I put down my pen on the last exam paper on the 8th. Some got what they deserved. Some regretted their past decisions. And I received the feedback I deserved. I held the admission notice in my hand, gazing towards the direction of my future university. I know, my life is just beginning. The story ends.